From roster building to hints about the job security of the coordinators to revisiting the Terry McLaurin contract, Adam Peters and Dan Quinn's press conference on Monday had it all. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Full Command Show. My name is Grant Mitchell, and this just might be my favorite video that I've recorded on this channel. I don't know, because I haven't recorded it yet. I'm about 30 seconds into it, but from the amount of content and information that we got from AP and DQ on Monday, I can't wait to discuss this with you guys. Genuinely. This is essentially going to be a big debrief of what was said in the press conference. I'm going to highlight the main points. We're going to expound on those. I'm going to add some extra information. And then finally at the end, I'll give you my biggest takeaways and start some conversations, hopefully. That's what I want to do. I want to start conversations in the comment section below. And my favorite thing about this channel is that this is a community and you guys are always participating. You're always leaving your thoughts down below. But I expect more than ever, this video should get the wheels turning and get the fingers typing because we have so much to go over. So guys, before we jump into it, make sure that you do hit the like button and the hype button if you enjoy the content. If you enjoyed the press conference, if you just like me and you want to support the channel, do feel free to do that. Hit that subscribe button if you are new around here. And the link to join the Full Command Discord is at the top of the description. Feel free to hop in. We got a lot of content planned for the upcoming off season. So AP and DQ said a lot, and I'm going to do my best to parse this down. However, we are still going to revisit a lot of comments, take a look at a lot of the quotes from what they said, and then we will dive into those and talk about what are they actually telling us? What do they actually mean? What does this mean for our team? But without further ado, let's start. And I have broken this off into two sections, Dan Quinn and Adam Peters. We're going to start with Dan Quinn. So one of the first things he said was, quote, "Everything needs to be and is being thoroughly discussed. Hard decisions are made after seasons like this." Later on, he doubled down. There were, quote, "lessons from this season that will be applied. Hard decisions need to be made." Now, he was asked about if he had the hard decisions made. He said no. So someone asked him if he had a timeline. Hey, Dan, when would you like to announce this? He declined to offer a timeline on that. Now, here's what I will say. Teams are not just going to fire coaches in a vacuum. A team like the Commanders with Kliff Kingsbury. Despite what you think about Kliff Kingsbury is far from the worst offensive coordinator in the league. So I'm sure DQ and AP, they're sitting back there thinking, well, I don't really like the look of any of these guys on the market, so why would I fire Kliff? But if Sean McVay got fired, which obviously isn't happening, okay, this is a hypothetical, then Kliff would probably be out the door and we'd be extending an invite to Sean McVay. So no timeline on when change is going to happen, but I thought it was notable that DQ said the phrase hard decisions twice. Twice he said hard decisions that they need to be made. So be on the lookout for those. Now he was asked specifically about how he evaluates Kliff Kingsbury in the offense, and this is where it takes off. This was, for me, probably the biggest piece of the entire press conference. Here's what he said. Keep in mind, the question was, how do you evaluate Kliff in the offense? The job he did. Quote, "We're going through all of the coaches. Kliff offensively, defensively, on the team side. And so that's really what we're digging into to find what's best, how we do it, where do we find spaces to improve." There were several times in this press conference where DQ was tossed a softball about Kliff, given the chance to endorse him, and he just didn't. Now, that doesn't mean Kliff's job is over. Doesn't mean his tenure is over, right? But if DQ was certain, hey, I know what I have in Kliff, we're coming back next year, he would have said it. They might not address the report that came out over the weekend. The one I talked about on this channel from Diana Rossini, that there was a disconnect between Kliff and AP. You remember that one? None of the reporters asked DQ about that report, and he didn't mention it, but I promise you that he knows about it. They have people who monitor these things. AP knows that report is out there. DQ knows that report is out there. Kliff knows that report is out there. So for that to have just happened, for DQ not to take the chance to stand by his guy's side, that tells me Kliff is on the hot seat. That's what I'll say. I also find this particularly interesting because a couple of days ago, Jaden Daniels' mom actually endorsed Kliff on Twitter. But then I was listening to Jaden yesterday, and he said he's ready to offer input on guys the team wants to sign. He did not say he's going filibuster. He did not say they need to do what I say. He said, if they come to me and they want my input, I'm ready to offer it about the players that we want to sign, that I would like to play with the most, and that fit and we can run the offense that I want to run. All of that just sounds like a whirlwind to me, but I'm very interested to hear what your thoughts are on that, so make sure you leave them below. On the next defensive coordinator, DQ said, quote, "We'll make the best decisions for what the team needs." He said that he has not reached any absolute decisions, but he will be heavily involved in the decision. AP said that he will support DQ in finding the next coordinator. Now, I want to pause here because I saw some outrage, I think is a fair word, on Twitter, that AP was hands off, letting Dan Quinn pick the coordinator. Why isn't AP doing the job search? Well, why would he? Why do you want your GM meddling in your head coach's affairs? If he's your head coach, you trust him. If you're the CEO, that's what AP is basically. AP's the CEO. DQ is the manager, and he's got people under him. So why would you go higher? Why would you determine who's on your manager's team? Let him do it. And if it doesn't work out, okay, you cut bait with the manager. You fire the manager. You fire DQ. But it makes total sense. I mean, DQ's the one who wants to create the play style. He's the one who probably has the best grasp of the players on the team. He has an idea in his head of what he wants the team to play like. And DQ knows X's and O's better than Adam Peters does. I'm just going to say that. Adam Peters knows his X's and O's. Got no doubt about that. But DQ's an NFL head coach. AP is a general manager. He's got other things attracting his attention. So, of course, DQ is going to be leading the defensive coordinator search if and when that happens, if they decide to move on from Joe Witt Jr. And then final note from DQ here, he said, on the last two draft classes, quote, "The belief we have in them is so strong, we've got some really good foundational pieces." So if I'm looking at those people right now, the guys who are no doubt foundational pieces, Jaden Daniels, Trey Amos. I'll throw Josh Connerly Jr. in there because of the improvement that he showed me at the end of the season. People who should be, Mike Sainristil still should be, Bill Krosky-Merritt, I don't know if he's going to be RB1 next year. I actually think we might be going after a running back in free agency, but even if he's RB2 and he's on the field, then okay, we'll throw him in there. Jordan McGee should be, although do we know? Johnny Newton, we're kind of hoping for it, but he's been disappearing a lot. The bottom line is Jaden and Amos, we've got two guys there that we're very confident in. So from what DQ's seen on the practice field, I guess you trust the talent, you trust their work ethic. I'm still waiting to see it, but it was a vote of confidence in the young players. Okay, let's move this over to Adam Peters. Big, juicy one for him to start. On handling Terry McLaurin's negotiations. Quote, "Both us and Terry would agree we would have liked to get that done faster." Now, this is significant because Laremy Tunsil is up for a deal, and he's looking to get paid. On Monday, the Seattle Seahawks signed their 25-year-old left tackle Charles Cross to a 4-year, $104.4 million extension that included $75 million in guarantees. Now, AP later said that Tunsil's impact on this team has been outstanding. He said that he's been a great player on the field, and he's been a great mentor and leader in the locker room. He also said that him and Tunsil have been in constant communication and are looking to get a deal done sooner than later. Now, I would need to revisit the exact verbiage and rhetoric that AP used when discussing the Terry contract, but if I'm not mistaken, he did always say we'd like to get a deal done with Terry quickly, soon. So I don't think that is anything different. What I would say is internally, AP's probably going to place some more urgency on himself, seeing how the Terry situation played out. One thing of note here, Tunsil does represent himself in negotiations. So that has its ups and it has its downs. On one hand, you don't have a lawyer arguing that might not always have a player's best interest at heart or might not always be asking for the most realistic thing in the world. Also, there's no middleman, so you're not going through multiple people to get one message across. That can take time. That can muddy those waters. But then on the other, if negotiations go poorly, the personal relationships, if Tunsil, and I don't know Tunsil, in a perfect world, Tunsil would say, that's Adam Peters. He's none of my teammates. He's none of my coaches. If my relationship with him breaks down, I'm still fully bought in with everyone else in this locker room. That's great, but it's very hard to compartmentalize like that. So if negotiations do break down, that would be a bad sign. But we are so far away from that, so don't even take this as me fear-mongering. Just telling you about the reality of representing yourself in negotiations. Back to AP here on the focus of roster building, something we are all talking about, and you guys are going to love this because I loved this. Adam Peters, quote, "You're always trying to get younger and faster, and that will be a big emphasis for us this summer. From having the oldest roster in the NFL to getting younger and faster, and that will be a big emphasis for us this summer." That is music to my ears. Now, he said something which is interesting, and that absolutely holds water. When, I forget how the topic exactly came up, but it was about the shorter deals for the older guys, and he said, in my previous stops, some of the biggest mistakes we have made have been giving lots of money and lots of years, I thought that was notable, lots of years, to people we didn't really know. So if AP was looking around at the market and saying, I'm not familiar with a lot of these guys, or I'm not positive what their impact will be, it makes sense why he gave out so many one-year deals, some two-year deals. But this is a good free agency class, not at every position, but at some others, certainly. A guy like Quay Walker, for example, if he hits the market, that's somebody you don't know, but that you would be giving a lot of money in 4 or 5 years, however long, too. That's a guy who looks like he would be worth it. Now, speaking of this youthful movement, he later on was asked what the team needs to fix moving into next year. He said health, which is big. He said they need to solidify several positions. He said some are set, others still need to be worked on. And then he went back to the well, and he said we need to get more young, fast, exciting, explosive talent. Just hearing the way that he spoke and his word choice, it's not, we need to add depth. We need to get more young guys. It's young, fast, exciting, and explosive talent. The way he was speaking in this press conference indicates to me he's ready to spend big in free agency. And he should, because the way the books are lined up, you got all the reason in the world to spend big right now. You cut Marshawn Lattimore, that's going to put you over $100 million in cap space. If you have a restructuring with Deron Payne, whatever's going on there, this is the time to spend. The team record shows it. The fact you've got 30 free agents shows it. And it sounds to me like Adam Peters knows it. He was also asked, I believe by David Aldridge, specifically on defense, if there was one position he's looking to develop. And he said, whether it's in the draft, whether it's in free agency, we are looking to bring in a pass rusher. So all of a sudden, Caleb Downs, I would love Caleb Downs, don't get me wrong. But if Ruben Bain's on the board, if Arvell Reese is on the board, he's not an edge rusher, he's a linebacker, but he can rush the passer. If David Bailey's on the board, heck, if we trade back, or if somehow we trade up, Matayo Uiagalelei's on the board, be on the look for the Commanders to have interest in those guys. The draft is after free agency, so I'm sure they're going to do their due diligence, go try to get a guy there. But if they don't, I would probably expect the Commanders' top pick, or one of their early picks, to be at that edge rusher position. Adam Peters is never this transparent. And I say that in a positive way, because he shouldn't be. He's general manager. You don't want to show your cards. So for him to broadcast that on a Times Square billboard, that's significant. The Commanders are looking to bring in an edge rusher. Speaking of the roster some more, AP also said the team is looking for a tight end with a Zach Ertz type of skill set who can continually get open on third down and be a security blanket for Jaden Daniels. He said that player could be on or off the roster. And then the same question that we finished DQ with on the last 2 draft classes, he said, quote, "We still have a ton of belief in all of them, and they all have another level they can go to." So that does it for the quotes. My biggest takeaways. Number 1, the lack of reassurance on Kliff Kingsbury. We are 99% positive Joe Witt Jr. is done. There's going to be a new defensive coordinator. And Dan Quinn does not want to stay as defensive coordinator. He doesn't want to continue that role. He just wants to go back to being the manager. So we already knew the defense was changing. The fact that there were multiple instances where it's like, hey, this is the perfect time to say we love Kliff, love working with him, and we're confident in him, and can't wait to see him next year. And all he said was, we are evaluating everything. Hard decisions need to be made. Kliff is on the hot seat. Make no mistake about that. The roster building, getting younger and faster. Bingo. Bravo. Adam Peters is a smart dude. If that's like the first thing that we can see as fans and just natural analysts of our favorite team, Adam Peters sees it. He knows. He knows having all those old guys, not having speed on the field, that's a problem. What were the words he said? Young, fast, exciting, explosive. All things the Commanders need. And AP is fully aware of that. Building around Jaden. And I didn't mention this in any specific quote, but there was a point in the press conference where he was asked how he can support Jaden Daniels. And he said, for me, it's not so much X's and O's because that's not my job. I'm not the coach. I'm not DQ. But the things I can do, get him a running back who can take the pressure off of him, get him receivers who he trusts, give him an offensive line that can block, and get him a defense that can keep him playing from the front, not from behind. So again, when I couple that with the talk about the youthful investment in speed and energy and explosiveness and all those things, I really walk away from this. Also, the fact he put it out there so blatantly. Yes, we are going after a pass rusher. This is the most urgent and aggressive I can remember hearing Adam Peters sound. He was still smooth and calm and collected. But if you listen through the words, you take away that cool drawl, that California Bay Area cool, slick back, everything's nice and relaxed. If you take away that and you look at the words he said, they were very telling. And then my final big takeaway, DQ absolutely needs to nail this hire at the defensive coordinator spot. Joe Witt Jr. is going to be gone. It's just going to happen. John Keim, ESPN reporter, said earlier this week he thinks he will go look to someone with experience, which probably rules out a guy like Al Harris. I'll have a video coming out as soon, if and when the Commanders fire Kliff and or Joe Witt Jr. As soon as that happens, I'll have a video with my top coordinator choices, but off of that report from John Keim, it sounds like a guy like Al Harris again would be out. And for example, someone like a Raheem Morris or his defensive coordinator who was fired in the process, Jeff Ulbrich. Guys like those who have been DCs before, who have been successful, those would be the people that we would be targeting. That's my takeaway. But guys, that is going to do it for this video. There was so much that happened here that I'm probably on just some of these topics, individual quotes. I'll probably have entire videos breaking them down one by one later on because there's so much notable and we don't always hear from AP, and it's worth giving it its time and attention, but this is the debrief. I know I kind of threw a lot at you, but I'm interested for what are your biggest takeaways? What do you think? Do you think they were transparent? How do you feel about the direction of the team? Anything, whatever's on your mind, make sure you throw it down in the comment section below. I'm going to head out of here. There's a lot of news that's going to be coming up, so maybe we'll get back to the double uploads. I don't know, but make sure you hit the like and the hype button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you are new around here, and I appreciate y'all joining me. I will catch you in the next one. Have a great day.
Chew with me.